What problems are you dealing with in your life right now?
Do you feel like giving up? Times are hard and you're not strong. Well, I know the answer for you, and it will lead to real truth. Don't look back to yesterday.
Now there are answers.
Tomorrow's on
Welcome
the
to
way.
Live Prayer.
It's waiting there.
And welcome to Live Prayer. I am Bill Keller. Good to be with you on this Friday evening. I pray it's been a great day for you. Been looking forward to tonight's program. We have a lot to get to tonight, including a very powerful man in this country that may be heading to The Hague for war crimes. Don't touch that dial, as they say. Got a lot to go over with you tonight. Welcome to the program. If you're new, this is Live Prayer. We're here live in the living color every Monday through Friday, 11 to midnight, Eastern Daylight Time, wherever you may be watching across this great land of ours. Sea to shining sea, border to what was a border at least for about a year or so. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And for our friends in other far-off great lands, welcome to you as well. Once again, I'm Bill Keller. I'm the founder of LivePrayer.com, world's largest interactive Christian website. Reach a little over 2.5 million folks each and every day via the internet. Please check us out online. There's our web address on the screen right now, liveprayer.com, liveprayer.com. Check it out. 2 quick notes. If your church is still shut down, as about 35 to 40% are, can you believe that, 18 months? And from everything I'm hearing, probably about 20% of those, half of those, are never going to reopen. What a shame. But if you need a church service, you can go to the Live Prayer Church. It's a real service we put up. It's 24/7. We put it up at midnight every Sunday. And if you just go to the website, liveprayer.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom, Live Prayer Church. There's a link there. Click on it. And again, that service changes every week at midnight on Sunday. It's about a 35, 40-minute worship service. I know it'll be a blessing to you. So check that out. Also, something I'm supposed to do, should probably do it every night, really. Should at least do it once a week. I do it about once every 3 months. As we're rolling into the month of September, we're still trying to catch up some of those summer months when things were a little bit slower. Go to our website, liveprayer.com. In the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. Click on that. Gives you our address if you want to drop something in the mail. Also a special secure link if you want to use a credit card. The people that support Live Prayer make this possible for literally millions of people around the world every day. Make this program. We're approaching right now with all of our different platforms we're on now, probably somewhere in the 45 to 50,000 range each and every night. Of course, if you're most people watch us on our main feed, which is out of our website, liveprayer.com. But I want to welcome all of our friends watching live right now on our Live Prayer Facebook page, Twitter page, on our Roku Live Prayer Church channel. Welcome to our Roku friends. Our friends on Rumble watching us live right now. And yes, thank you. YouTube's back. At least for a while anyway. Welcome to our YouTube friends. Those are all of our simulcast sites where we are also appearing live. And of course, we're on all of those platforms. You can find the program for on-demand viewing, which is probably about how 85-90% of the people watch the program. In addition to the live sites, you can also watch on demand on our Live Prayer Gab, our Live Prayer Telegram, our Live Prayer Cloud Hub, our Live Prayer Parlor, True Patriot Networks, and of course Getter. So we've got a presence on all of those platforms, so check it out. All right, let's have a quick word of prayer. We got a lot to get to tonight, and we're going to talk a little bit about 9/11 too before we get out of here. So let's have a quick word of prayer. Father, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to gather together in your name. We're blessed to be able to be here, worship in freedom, at least for now. We're thankful, Lord, for your presence, because the Bible promises where 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, you are in the midst. So we thank you for your presence, Lord. We thank you for all the dear friends who are part of this program tonight, either live or on demand. I lift up them and their families and their needs and ask, God, that every need be met for your glory. We're so grateful for this wonderful day that you've given to us. We're thankful for the blessings we've enjoyed. And now, Lord, open our hearts and minds to prepare to receive from you the truth we need to know. And we praise you for it and thank you for it in Jesus' precious name. Amen and amen. All right, let me clean up a couple things here. I do want to get some 9/11 comments in before we get out of here tonight. If you're following all the goings on around the country with especially the 5 swing states that were clearly hit with massive fraud in the 11-3 election, Georgia has now determined that there are over 30,000 ballots. I mean, this is on top of other problems in Georgia. 30,000 ballots that were sent by mail. That was, of course, not supposed to be done because the legislature never authorized it. But 30,000 undeliverable. And don't forget, Joe Biden only won that state by 10,000. We're not even getting into an audit of the actual votes yet. We're not talking about the machines and any issues that may have caused. We're just talking about basic undelivered 30,000. And the other night we were talking about Arizona, almost 200,000. Pennsylvania is getting ready next week to send out subpoenas to do a full audit. Wisconsin is very close, and they've got over 100,000 undeliverable ballots, missing ballots. And then Michigan. So it's taken some time. And listen, if Donald Trump's going to be president again, it's going to be because he runs in 2024 and wins, and that means he'll be inaugurated January 20th of 2025. No matter how much fraud they find from the 2020 election, it's not going to change. There's no constitutional mechanism to do anything about it. But the fraud needs to be exposed. People need to be held accountable. So I pray that that is the end result of all these efforts. The Democrats are bound and determined to push through this $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill and then a $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill. Of course, if they pass, there's only one way they can even remotely put a dent in paying for these bills. And of course, we all know what that's going to be, tax increases. And don't buy for a second this fairy tale, well, it's only going to affect people over 400,000. Listen, everybody in this country is already paying a tax right now because of the Biden mishandling of the economy. Purposeful like everything, but, and you know what I mean. Every time you go to fill your car up with gas, all that extra money, that's a tax. When you go to the grocery store, I love the guy yesterday. He said, well, the inflation of food, of the grocery store has been really overstated. If you just take out the beef, the pork, and the poultry, we're a little high, but we're real close. Oh, so now we're supposed to become vegans, huh? Is that what they're telling us? Yeah, just take out your beef, your poultry, your pork, and the increase isn't too bad. Unbelievable. Again, taxes are going to be raised if any of these things go through. It's going to be very interesting because even though they had a bipartisan agreement on the $1.2 trillion in the Senate, which 19 Republicans are absolute idiots for even remotely giving any credence to these massive slush funds, is what they are, Democrat slush funds. They're meeting resistance in the House, not by just the Republicans, by Democrats. There's a lot of infighting, so we'll see what happens. By the way, new financial numbers came out today. Just the inflation is and we haven't even got these, roughly $5 trillion of more stimulus. That hasn't happened yet. And the numbers today were just miserable. Interest rates are going to have to start rising just to try to offset some of the inflation. It's like everything else, my friends, it's not a very pretty picture when you're talking about the economy. Fentanyl. Now, let me ask you a question. Supposedly Joe Biden had a telephone meeting with President Xi of China. It's only the second time they've talked since he's been in office. And we're led to believe that the phone call was for an hour and a half. I'm sorry. Joe Biden can't do anything other than sleep for more than 30 minutes. Now, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just being honest. Oh, by the way, did you see what happened today? He and his wife, First Lady Jill Biden, they were at some middle school somewhere in Virginia, I believe. And she's given remarks because she's the only one that can speak without a teleprompter in that family, I guess. And he was standing, and all of a sudden, in the middle of her talking to this middle school, you see Joe starting to wander away. I mean, he literally walks out of the picture. Ugh. Let me remind you of one thing, because and what reminded me of this phone call was this fentanyl problem we've got in this country. Of course, it's been exacerbated by multiples with these open borders. And I get people that thankfully aren't using street drugs, so they're a little bit confused about this whole fentanyl situation. Fentanyl is very cheap, okay? Very potent. If you've ever had to go to surgery, you've been put under, right? Put under anesthesia, right? That was fentanyl. And as your bills, I guarantee you, will tell you, if you went to surgery and you were put under, you also paid, or your insurance company paid, somebody called it anesthesiologist. They go to the same medical school that the surgeon went to. You know, we're talking, an underclass degree, talking 3 years of medical school, pretty much the same. And all they do is deal with putting people under, using fentanyl, and monitoring them every second while whatever surgical procedure is going on, right? Well, fentanyl, 95, 96% of the world's fentanyl comes from where? China, okay? Nothing happens in China that the government doesn't know about. So there is absolutely zero chance that the government isn't very aware of the fentanyl they're shipping all over the world. And right now, their main port of destiny is Mexico, South America, and then it moves up through, and it comes right through our southern border. Now, real quick, a lot of people who are, I can't remember his name now, but the guy that played on The Wire, played Chalky on Boardwalk Empire, if you're familiar with that HBO series, good actor, died of, they're saying, a drug overdose. It really wasn't a drug overdose. He was using cocaine. The cocaine was laced with fentanyl. He really didn't die of an overdose. He was poisoned to death. What the street dealers do is they lace heroin, they lace cocaine, they lace methamphetamines with some fentanyl. Number one, it's very cheap. You don't need much. I mean, a bowl of fentanyl, if you take just a standard cereal bowl, fill it up with fentanyl, that's enough fentanyl to kill probably 50,000 people. That's how potent it is. Don't forget, Michael Jackson died from fentanyl. Prince died from fentanyl. The majority in the last few years of these drug overdose deaths that are just the scourge of the country involve fentanyl. And to be truthful, it's really not a drug overdose. It's poison. These people were poisoned to death. Now, the whole purpose of the drug dealers lacing drugs like cocaine, heroin, and meth with fentanyl, it gives a bigger high, okay? Gets people high, faster, stronger, makes them want more, right? That's the whole purpose. And here's the bottom line. If you go to surgery, you've got a guy that, went to years and years of medical school that's got you hooked up, that's monitoring you every second that you are under, right? You've got people that didn't even get through the 5th or 6th grade putting this fentanyl into street drugs. It's no wonder people are dying. Again, not of an overdose, but technically they're poisoned to death. Of course, Joe says nothing about it. I do know, because it was very clearly laid out, that had Donald Trump won a second term, this was going to be a major issue with China. And if he gets reelected, that's where God's plans go. I guarantee you it's going to be dealt with, because it is just unbelievable. And by the way, I'll tell you one reason why Joe Biden doesn't talk about drugs at all. If he knows, he stays away from it. Because the first son is an absolute crackhead. I'm sorry, it's just true. So he can't talk about it. And this Mayorkas guy that runs Department of Homeland Security, he's absolutely, absolutely worthless. So that's the whole fentanyl situation with China. And again, it's just another reason why China needs to be taken down. I mean, what a clever deal they've got going on. They rip us off on trade. They poison our people to death. They unleashed a bioweapon that's crippled our economy for a while, killed people, right? Unbelievable. Let's talk about Afghanistan for a second before I get into 9/11. Why is Congress not demanding hard numbers of U.S. citizens, hard numbers of Afghans who work for the United States? Why do we still, a month, 6 weeks into all this, not know those numbers? I mean, it's either they're hiding the numbers or it's utter incompetence. It's probably a little both. It's just, and why is Congress not demanding these numbers? I also want to know how much money we've been giving the Taliban. That's something we should know. And I really want to know how much we're going to have to pay for every American citizen that they give back to us. I'd like to know that number too. I think we should. Now, let me tell you another issue that I've been raising on this program. If you've been watching, you're familiar with it. If you remember, right after the suicide bomber blew himself up at the Abbey Gate there in Kabul, killed about, I think it's over 200 Afghanis died. I mean, that's not mentioned much, but it needs to be. 200 Afghanis died in that blast. You still got hundreds in the hospital. And of course, our 13 brave soldiers that died in that blast, right? If you remember, right afterwards, we had a drone strike on an ISIS-K planner. That's how they describe it, an ISIS-K planner. We found the planner somehow, we locked and loaded, and we sent a drone, and we took out that planner. Now, you may remember, if you were watching the program that night, I said, great, okay, well, doesn't make up for 13 dead troops that should have never died. But, okay, fine, at least there was some retaliatory strike, right? But if you remember, I said, but something's a little off. Why is this person that they targeted and killed, this ISIS-K player, why don't we know that person's name? I assume it was a high-level ISIS-K person that we took out. We should know that person's name. We should know, what role they played. Just for context, right? And days went by, no name. Again, if you've been watching the program, I continue to just ask the simple question, well, who was it that we took out? Let's share. Let's hear who it is. He's dead. Let's see how high, because my assumption was he probably wasn't high level at all. Well, reports are now coming out today in the New York Times of all places, by the way, just for the record. The New York Times had a major report come out today that actually that wasn't an ISIS-K planner. That was an innocent aid worker that we blew up and his 7 children. And now you've got China, of all people, clamoring that Joe Biden be sent to The Hague and tried for war crimes, according to the Geneva Convention, which we and legitimate countries try to abide by. Of course, terrorists, they don't abide by anything. You're not supposed to be blowing up citizens and their children. The reason they never told us the name of the ISIS-K planner was because it wasn't an ISIS-K planner. It was a innocent foreign aid worker that was actually working with some United States aid organization in the U.S. We blew him up and his 7 children. Whew. Maybe if Mealy wouldn't be worrying about studying white rage, maybe if Secretary Austin wasn't worried about purging the military of white Christian nationalists, which he has no proof that even exist in the ranks, maybe they could get the right person. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. On top of everything else, the strike was on an innocent individual and his 7 children. And China is on the world stage shaming us. The people that have concentration camps, probably not seen since the days of Auschwitz and Treblinka, in Western China with over 1 million Uyghur Muslims. Unbelievable. Last night I talked about 8,500 Afghans that were in the country. Apparently it's more like 45,000. See, here's another thing. They can't even tell us how many of these Afghan refugees are in our country. Why don't we know those numbers? We're not getting any more for a while, by the way, because we stopped all incoming Afghan refugees because of that 40-some thousand that we have brought here so far, which we don't know where they are. We certainly don't know where they're going to resettle them. But we stopped any more from coming in, not because we want to be careful about who we're letting into the country, because of the ones we have let in, you've got an outbreak of measles. Measles! You could make this stuff up if you wanted. Oh, and we talked the other day about the new Taliban cabinet, their minister of the interior, their minister of economy, all that, right? And if you remember, that idiot Secretary of State Blinken was very upset that the Taliban didn't have any women involved in their new government. Remember that? I added people who choose to engage in same-sex relationships, trans people, none of those in that government either, just for the record, because we're a very inclusive country. Anyway, Blinken is very upset that they had no women. Well, the Taliban responded today. I mean, this is how far we have sunk. We were lectured to by the Taliban today that basically told us that women aren't made for cabinet positions. They're not made to be ministers. They're made to bear children and raise children. That's it. Now, I don't know what response other than that you would expect from a Stone Age people who live by a satanically inspired ideology that we know of as Sharia law, right? Would you think they were going to put a bunch of people in to be inclusive? Yeah, a couple women over here, a couple gay men over there. Got to have a trans person somewhere, right? Unbelievable. Really is. All right, let's talk about COVID a little bit before I get into 9/11. Once again, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Mengele Fauci, to be more accurate, he was on CNN and he got hit between the eyes with a question that he didn't like. And you could tell he was perturbed. And he had to mumble like, well, I'm not really sure about that. And that was the whole issue of natural immunity. Now, we've got studies from many different places. There's a really big Israeli study that's very well received and given lots of credibility, that if you've had COVID, you've recovered from COVID, your natural antibodies are 7 times greater than what you're going to get through the vaccine, right? And Fauci was asked about natural immunity. First time that he's ever even pressed on it, okay? And he had no answer. He said, well, that's an interesting topic that we should probably look at. Now, of course, he doesn't want to talk about natural immunity. He just wants to talk about vaccines because at the end of the day, Fauci is the #1 salesman for, in addition to being a devotee of Dr. Mengele, he's also, and listen, I don't say that to be mean. I don't say that to be funny. When you're taking babies that are supposed to be aborted and you are so sick, you don't even abort them in the normal way. As a matter of fact, you make sure they're born alive so you could then slice them up while living to harvest their organs and other parts. That's Mengele territory, my friend. I don't care what anybody says. When you're putting parasites in little dogs to see how long it takes for them to die a slow and painful death from being eaten up from the inside, that's Mengele stuff. I'm sorry. But this is the first time he's really been pressed on this. But Fauci, at the end of the day, he's the #1 salesman for Big Pharma. Okay? Big Pharma doesn't want to talk about natural immunity because that means they don't sell more vax. Shots in the arm, that's all they care about. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Especially this first round because the government's paying for it. And I'm sure, like their $4,000 toilet seats they buy, they're probably paying top price for these numbers. And we know because these are public companies like Pfizer and Moderna, their profits are through the roof right now because of this. Why do you think they want to vax kids? More money. Whether they need it or not, put it in their arm. But this whole natural immunity thing, as we've been discussing on this program often, remember how they pushed all those cases purely to fear-monger this whole issue, starting early last year, right? And I was telling you all along that from everything I am hearing and seeing and people that, aren't out with an agenda, there's probably at least 2 times, could be as much as 4 times the number of people were actually infected with COVID, and the majority of them probably never even knew it because they got the sniffles a few days, they recovered, maybe other than a headache for a day or some sniffles, they were asymptomatic, they didn't even know they had it. You got tens of millions of people walking around right now that have natural immunity. Mentioned last night, United Airlines, they've already mandated their employees be vaccinated. Employees that opted out due to a legitimate religious exemption were put on notice that they're going to be laid off without pay, that they are no longer going to accept their religious exemption, and you either get vaccinated or you're being furloughed minus pay. That's obviously got lawsuit written all over it, so we'll see. And here's something else. Again, if you've been watching, I've been screaming about this for over a year now. Where are the seasonal flu numbers? Where? As people know, on a good year, we only lose about 30,000 people to the flu. Bad year, we could lose 85,000. We've had no flu deaths in 2020. Isn't that amazing? It just went away. We've had no flu deaths this year. It just went away. And don't forget the other scam I exposed for you. And that's this variant nonsense. Less than a fraction of a percent of tests for COVID ever go to a special lab where they can actually break it down to determine whether it was the original COVID strain, whether it's the Delta variant, whether it's this new MU variant. 99.9% of the tests, if they're positive, they don't know if it's a Delta strain or a MU strain or just their regular Chinese flu. They don't know. Yet they tell, well, there's a Delta outbreak. That's garbage. Those are lies. And they wonder why people are quote unquote vax hesitant. Maybe because you've been lying about this whole thing from day one, basically. Oh, that gets us to another thing. And I told you all along, be careful about these numbers because I told you they were being manipulated from day one. Day one. No number's been manipulated more than the only number that really matters, how many people have died. And again, somewhere in that number has to be people that would have been classified as the seasonal flu in years past, but we've got none of those deaths for 2 years now. Now here's a legitimate and very serious differential that you need to understand about these death numbers. And I explained it a while back, but it needs to be repeated. When you look at COVID death numbers, are these people that died with COVID? Or are these people that died because of COVID? Big difference. And now that we've got so much data, experts are saying probably only about 5% of that death number. What's about 600,000? Okay, 5%. That's about 30,000. Wow, that's a number that we recognize, right? Only about 5% of the death number is literally people who died because they had COVID. COVID alone, nothing else. The other 95% died with COVID, meaning they had other issues. And probably the best analogy that I can give you is people have cancer. Virtually, at least in the 30 years of ministry dealing with people in person, millions and millions online over these 30 years, most people that get cancer, whatever kind you want to name, don't die from cancer. Most of them die from pneumonia, right? Because their immune system's shot. But Biden has set up this division between the vaxxed and the unvaxxed. He had Dr. Fauci. You probably didn't see it. You had to look at another feed of his little lecture yesterday where he's complaining. By the way, I'd love to see him be that angry at China for what they did to this country. We know China did this. And I think there's a strong case that could be made on purpose. I'm not going to take the time to go into all the reasons, but if you've been watching, you've heard me lay out the case. But if you looked at another feed of his lecture last night, you had Fauci there with his little white coat standing a little bit off to the side. Why does Fauci still have a job? I'm being honest. We know from documents government documents that have been discovered through FOIA, the Freedom of Information application there, right? We know Fauci paid for it. That's why he is the godfather of the Chinese flu. He paid for it. And now we understand from Scott Gottlieb, who was Trump's CDC guy, who's also on the board of Pfizer, just for the record. You see how this game works? But he said, as disturbing as it was to know that Fauci circumvented the system and paid for this research on the COVID virus, went through a third party, Peter Daszak, Econ Health. It was just a flow through to the Chinese lab in Wuhan, right? But there's in those documents, he said more. Do you remember MERS, M-E-R-S? We had that maybe 10, 15 years ago. Now that was very lethal. I mean, that had a lethality of probably 10 times what the Chinese flu is, right? Very lethal. By the grace of God, it was caught early. It didn't prove to be a problem. They were able to get rid of it fairly quickly. But apparently Fauci was all involved in paying for research to jack up the MERS. And Gottlieb said, that's really disturbing because that MERS, the lethality, multiples of what the Chinese flu strain is. I just don't know why Fauci's even got a job. Well, I do know, because Big Pharma, that's why he's got a job. By the way, you know what was missing from Biden's lecture yesterday to the unvaxxed? Do you know what was missing? How come they never talk, and Fauci never mentions either, just for the record. How come they never talk about the illegals? You got 1 million illegals in this country. Why aren't they mandated to be vaccinated? If there's anybody that should be mandated to be vaccinated, it's the illegals. Matter of fact, they should be vaccinated for a bunch of things because they come up here. And, by the way, you keep hearing the media, the hospital yards are clogged up, they're clogged up, they're clogged up. It's all those unvaccinated Trump voters, basically is what they're saying. Do you know where the clogs are coming from? It's from all the illegals. They come here. They've got every kind of disease known to man that we haven't seen in this country for the last 50 years. That's a huge part of the hospital issues in Texas. Some stuff, Trump voters that wouldn't get vaccinated, as they want you to believe, it's illegals. And don't they have a mandate to be vaccinated? Unbelievable. By the way, I can guarantee you right now that whatever OSHA tries to do, whatever other games the government, they're going to lose in court so fast. I'm just telling you, they're going to lose so fast. Federal employees, of course, are mandated to be vaccinated. Now there's a little controversy going on because apparently the postal union has a pass on the mandate. And because that was getting so much of an uproar, there's some reporting, well, no, that's not really true. You see, here's the problem. They lie about everything. You don't know what's true or not in most of these cases. You really don't. I'll tell you what is true, though. The media, the corporate propagandists that masquerade as the media, they're on board, man. They are so happy to be able to tear into those white Christian Trump voters who won't get vaccinated. The country would be all better now if it wasn't for those white Christian Trump voters. Of course, they don't want to talk about the largest percentage of people that are not vaccinated are in the black community, then the Hispanic community. And amazingly, people who have PhDs, I found that interesting. People with PhDs is a class of people that is highly unvaccinated. Interesting. And like I've told you many times, something even more interesting than that, 30% of people in the healthcare industry aren't vaccinated. And that's their world. Really, Fauci losing his job for financing this stuff, that is, that's not a grounds that he should be fired. He should be in jail, really. If nothing else, for lying to Congress. Remember all those people they hit with lying to Congress charges that were part of the Trump orbit? Let me just ease your mind so you don't have to get excited. And again, God will have the final word, not Bill Keller. God will have the final word on this recall effort in California. But, here comes the but, okay? Newsom's not going anywhere. I told you all along. At the end of the day, he's not going to, and I'll tell you why he's not going anywhere. It's not because he's so popular. It's not because he is doing such a great job. The people of California really want him to stay. That's not true at all. The reason he's not going to be booted out of office is because California is a one-party state. They have rigged all their election laws to ensure that they will never lose an election. Okay? They mailed up millions of ballots. Ballot harvesting, which is a scam, is legal in California. And again, it's a great example. This is what Pelosi and Schumer want to do nationally, on a national level. That's why they're crying so hard about these voting laws they're trying to put through. It's not because they suppress the black vote. That's got nothing to do with it. They want those bills through because it federally mandates all of the cheating that they did illegally in 2020. It actually codifies those cheating activities into law. And if they ever get it passed, they will never lose again. There will never be a Republican president, Republican-controlled House or Senate for generations, just like there's not in California. It's California on a national level. All right? Hate to, I know Larry Elder, I don't know, if he would be a good governor or not. Got to be better than Newsom. But they're not going to let Larry Elder win because the system's rigged. Sorry, it is. By the way, the Biden Justice Department is trying to go after Texas in this heartbeat law. Hasn't got a prayer. Let me tell you and I never went to law school, but be that as it may. Let me tell you why it goes nowhere. They're using as the premise of this lawsuit what happened during the Obama administration in Arizona. Now, if you remember, Jan Brewer was the governor of Arizona. Just like now, because it's still Obama in charge, right? They weren't taking care of the border. They uncovered Fast and Furious, remember that? Lost one of our Border Patrol agents due to that whole fiasco that was cooked up by the Holder Department of Justice. He refused to even tell Congress what he knew, and he was held in contempt. Remember all that? Well, Jan Brewer said, "Fine, you don't want to do your job? We'll do it for you." And she basically signed into law in Arizona immigration laws to basically do what the government wasn't doing. Well, if you remember, the ink wasn't even dry on that law, and Holder and his Department of Justice was in court, and the court overturned that law in about 5 minutes. Now, here's why that law got overturned. Because there are federal laws on the books to govern immigration. Immigration is a federal issue. The federal government is the authoritative body that deals with immigration, not the states. Now, states can try and do as much as they want. You got Abbott doing that right now in Texas. But at the end of the day, the federal government controls immigration because the immigration laws are on the books. They've been passed by Congress. They're federal laws. That's why they have control over immigration. Okay? There are no federal laws that control killing babies. All right? As much as they'd love there to be, there's not. Now, there's an easy way. If they want to make sure that every state in the union must kill babies, there's an easy way to do it. Just like immigration, pass a federal law. Because right now, there is no federal law. All they've got now is a shoddy Supreme Court decision from 73 called Roe versus Wade, where you literally had the Supreme Court making, we're going back to Civics 101. Congress makes the law, okay? The executive branch enforces the laws, and the judiciary upholds the laws, okay? This is not rocket science. This is 4th and 5th grade civic stuff, right? Unfortunately, in 73, what the Supreme Court did, they did the job of Congress. They literally made a law that women are allowed to get abortions. Now, if this can be fixed real easy. They don't even need to worry. They're all worried about overturning Roe versus Wade. Listen, if they want to kill babies in all 50 states that bad, they don't need to overturn Roe versus Wade. Just pass a federal law that says all 50 states must allow women to kill their babies. And they can even make the law say any reason, any time, any place. They can make the law say whatever they want. All they got to do is pass it. Of course, they've tried for 48 years to pass that kind of a law, and they can't. And they know it. And of course, there's another reason why they want that what? The filibuster gone, because they get rid of the filibuster, they do have a chance of passing such a law. Then Roe versus Wade doesn't mean anything, because now you've got a federal law on the books. There is no federal law on the books. That's why Garland, Attorney General Garland's lawsuit against Texas is a non-starter. It's going nowhere. Going nowhere. I mentioned that Pennsylvania is going to start issuing subpoenas next week to do a full audit like they did in Arizona. They've already uncovered 440,000 ballots in Pennsylvania missing or undeliverable. I mean, the level of fraud. If you remember, on election night, about 11:30, 12 o'clock, Donald Trump was up in Wisconsin by 50, 60,000, up in Michigan by 30, 40,000, up in Pennsylvania by 800,000, up in Georgia by about 250,000, and Arizona was just starting to bring the returns in. That's why everybody got so upset with Fox, because they hadn't even really started the returns yet, and Fox had called it. But if you remember, all these states stopped simultaneously around midnight. So we're going to bed, we'll pick it up in the morning. And lo and behold, between midnight and 7:30 in the morning, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of ballots in these states just appeared overnight. Let's see. All right, let me talk about 9/11 real quick, because I got to tell you something. Yeah, I'm being dead honest. I will probably watch almost none of the coverage tomorrow. I'm just being honest. I tell some people today I'm very thankful that it's a Saturday because got college football. By the way, be careful tomorrow. Although I'll tell you this, I'm not really expecting anything to go down tomorrow. I'm really not. I'll tell you why. Because while we're remembering literally the greatest act of terror on our soil in our nation's history tomorrow, halfway around the world there's going to be a huge party, a huge celebration as Afghanistan celebrates their new country, their new terrorist haven. And they've invited their friends from China and Iran and Russia to come join them. There will be celebrations in Afghanistan. Matter of fact, I'll tell you what, if the country ever doubted that God's judgment is on this country, look at the juxtaposition tomorrow. 20 years after 9/11, after 20 years of being relatively safe and free from any major terror attacks by Islam. That was the last 20 years. It's a whole new ballgame starting tomorrow. While they're remembering the dead at Ground Zero, in Shanksville, at the Pentagon, halfway around the world, mighty celebrations will be going on, thanks to Barack Hussein Obama and his puppet, our avatar President Joe Biden. By the way, Biden is going to be at all three locations tomorrow, but apparently all he's going to be doing is laying a wreath of some kind. He's not going to be speaking at all. I guess they pre-recorded something for about 5 or 6 minutes, but no live speech. You know why? Because nobody wants to see Joe Biden tomorrow. Everything that we did post 9/11, he undid in less than a month. And we are now less safe tomorrow as the Islamic Emirates of Afghanistan starts their reign as a new country led by the Taliban, led by a terror organization that he says are very businesslike, very professional. We are in worse shape as of tomorrow. We are in worse shape tomorrow than we were prior to 9/11. That's just a fact. And this time, they learned their lessons. They're going to have this Taliban terror organization running Afghanistan, thanks to the generals that Barack Hussein Obama gave them from Gitmo in exchange for a dirty, lousy traitor that literally should have been shot at sunrise for desertion. That's what you used to do to deserters. You gave them a blindfold and a cigarette and you shot them at sundown. Not Obama, nope, 5 Taliban generals. Oh, and here's $5 billion in cash, for your troubles. Those are the guys running Afghanistan. And they've done this little creative deal where any problems in Afghanistan, that's coming from ISIS-K. But they're not going to make the same mistake they made last time. Oh, it's going to be a terror haven. But now they've insulated themselves with Pakistan, China, Russia, Iran. We are in a more dangerous place as far as the country. But you know what? Read the Bible. Read the Old Testament. How did God punish the children of Israel? How did he do it? Well, his main instrument of judgment was what? The enemies of Israel that overtook them and put them in captivity. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be in captivity, but hey, we've been kind of in captivity for China for a long time. Donald Trump's the first president to even address the issue. And of course, thanks to crackhead Hunter Biden, Joe can't do anything about China because his family's been paid off. just like they've been paid off by Russia, just like they've been paid off by all kinds of countries. That's why Hunter Biden matters. People say, well, I didn't vote for Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden's not the ticket. No, his corrupt father is. And the national security issue is what are these countries getting in return for those hundreds of millions of dollars that they gave the Biden family? The way that game works is, here's your money, and we'll let you know, when we're even. That's why there's no talk about fentanyl or any kind of, repercussions for unleashing the Chinese flu on the world. So it's a somber day tomorrow. I remember it well. I was in my office, as I was every morning. We had only been online for a couple years. I remember I had 3 TVs going like always. I remember seeing something hit the first tower. Well, we didn't see it, but something had hit it. And the initial thought was, some pilot with a Cessna or something like that kind of got his bearings off in the canyon of New York City, right? There's always been concerns about that. And of course, as they're on air covering that, then we saw the second one hit. Horrible day, horrible day. And while we will be remembering those lost, and what a somber day in our history that was, halfway around the world, thanks to Barack Hussein Obama and Joe Biden, our enemies will be celebrating. What a unimaginary scene, right? But hey, it's what a country under judgment of God looks like. All right, before we get out of here, because I'm running late, if you've never made a decision for Jesus before we leave tonight, I want to give you that chance, because when this brief journey is over, it matters what you believe. If you think you're going to blow yourself up and 72 virgins are waiting for you, I'm sorry. The only thing that's going to be waiting for you is the flames of hell for all eternity. Because it's Jesus who died for our sins. It's only Jesus who can save you. And if you've never made that decision for Christ, I want to give you a chance to do that right now. Pray with me. Dear Lord, I come to you this night asking you to forgive me of all my sins. I am a sinner. I confess my sins. I ask your forgiveness tonight. Tonight I believe in my heart. I confess with my mouth, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. My life is yours. I surrender it to you tonight. Use me for your glory. In the name of Jesus, I pray. And my friend, if you prayed and you meant it, the Bible says you're saved. Got a book I'll send you, won't cost you anything. Drop me an email, bkeller@liveprayer.com. I'll get it right out to you. And it'll be a blessing to help you in your new walk with the Lord. Always remember, you can email me anytime if you need prayer. Don't forget the LivePrayer Church. Just go to the LivePrayer homepage, all the way to the bottom. Scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a link that says LivePrayer Church. That'll take you to it. Again, changes every Sunday at midnight. And if this program's been a blessing to you, pray about hitting that donate button, helping us out, okay? Love and care about you so much. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather, especially our friends up north, okay? May not be too many more of these weekends, but enjoy the weekend. If you're a football fan, it's a great time. College is in full action. The pros start this weekend. So if you're a football fan, you're going to be good this weekend. But do something enjoyable. Get some rest. Lord willing, we'll see you back here Monday night 11 for another week of live prayer. God bless you.
What problems are you dealing with in your life right now?
Do you feel like giving up? Times are hard